You took everything from me. I want $50,000. That's what my brother said after his fiancée confessed publicly that she'd been in love with me for years. I never touched her, never wanted her, but I didn't stop her either. Now he's blaming me, demanding I pay for the wreckage she caused. And the worst part, I can't even say he's entirely wrong. I'm 27. I've got a solid job, a pretty stable routine, and a girlfriend I'm crazy about, Daisy. Daisy's the one I'm actually excited about, the one I can see spending the rest of my life with. We met a couple of years ago, and from the moment we clicked, I knew she was something special. I wasn't expecting her to be the one, but now I can't picture my life without her. Things are good, even with everything going on with my brother. Now, let me tell you about my younger brother, Nick. We're just a year apart, so we've been pretty much inseparable growing up. We went through the usual sibling stuff, fighting over stupid things like who's got the better video game skills or who got to eat the last slice of pizza. But despite all that, we always had each other's backs. That's how I've always seen it anyway. When he was in college, he met Kate, and they quickly became that couple. You know the type, everyone looks at them and thinks they're perfect for each other. I didn't really have an issue with Kate at first. She seemed sweet, always smiling, always ready to show up at family stuff. And well, for a while I thought it was going to work out between them. But here's the thing. Over time, something started to feel off. Nick and I shared an apartment during college, and Kate would come over all the time. It was fine at first. I didn't think much about it, but then she started getting, well, kind of too friendly with me. It was subtle at first. A compliment here and there, a lingering touch when handing me something, comments that felt more personal than I was comfortable with. I brushed it off at first. She's just trying to be friendly, right? It's her way of bonding with her future brother-in-law, I told myself. But over time, it felt a lot less like bonding and more like, well, something else. I didn't talk about it with Nick, though. Who would? It just seemed wrong, like I was overreacting. Besides, Kate was his girlfriend. I couldn't exactly go around questioning their relationship, especially not with her acting like everything was just fine. But when I started noticing how my ex-girlfriends reacted around Kate, things got clearer. More than one of them brought her up, saying how weird and possessive she acted when they came over. I just brush it off, maybe they were just insecure. But then, things happened that I couldn't ignore. Kate gave me a gold necklace with her initials on it for my birthday. It was too personal, too much. I tried to laugh it off, joking that it was a mix-up, but she got defensive. She said it was to keep other girls away from me. I was disgusted, honestly. I tried talking to Nick about it, but he didn't see what I saw. He told me I was overthinking it, that Kate just loved me like family, but that wasn't it. I wasn't imagining things, I could feel it. Kate's behavior wasn't normal, but at the time I didn't want to stir up drama, so I just distanced myself from her. Eventually, after Nick and Kate graduated, I thought I wouldn't have to deal with her as much. But Kate didn't go away. She started texting me almost every day. I'd ignore her messages and sometimes she'd call, but no matter how much I distanced myself, she just kept pushing. And then Daisy came into my life. I was done with the drama. Daisy was the one I wanted to be with, the one who treated me with respect. But every time Kate met Daisy, she'd do the same thing she did to my exes, bully her. Daisy wasn't having it. She wasn't the type to let anyone walk over her. One night, Kate chose a seafood restaurant for a family dinner, knowing full well that Daisy was allergic to shellfish. It wasn't just a mistake, it was deliberate. When I realized what Kate was trying to do, I refused to go. Daisy wasn't going to sit there and be made to feel like crap, and I wasn't going to let Kate get away with it. When I called Kate out on it, she played innocent, claiming she didn't know it was a big deal, but we all knew better. My parents saw through her act and took our side. Kate ended up storming off, and it was clear she wasn't happy about being called out. From that point on, Daisy and I avoided her. We didn't need her toxicity in our lives. But Nick, he just kept defending her. He wouldn't hear a word against Kate. He'd ask me to spend time with her, to forgive and forget. But I wasn't going to put myself in that position anymore. I made it clear to Nick that if he couldn't accept Daisy, then we had nothing more to talk about. Years passed, and I thought things were settled. But then came the night of Nick and Kate's engagement party. I wasn't thrilled about seeing Kate again, but I put my feelings aside for Nick's sake. I had no idea that night would change everything. The engagement party started like any other family event: awkward small talk, polite smiles, and a heavy undercurrent of unspoken tension. Kate, of course, was the one who made things uncomfortable. I tried to keep my distance, sticking close to Daisy, hoping the night would go by without any issues. But Kate had other plans. She started drinking a little more than usual. I could tell she was already tipsy, but I didn't think much of it at first. People get drunk at parties, it's nothing new. What I didn't expect was for her to become completely unhinged. I'd seen people drunk before, but this was different. Kate wasn't just tipsy, she was unraveling. As the night wore on, she started getting louder, more emotional. She kept glancing at me, then back at Nick, as if she was struggling to keep up the facade. I noticed her swaying a bit, but what really threw me off was when she grabbed the microphone from Nick in the middle of his toast. The whole room went silent. Everyone froze, waiting for her to speak. I honestly thought she was just going to say something stupid or funny, maybe try to get attention in that quirky way she sometimes did. But no, Kate wasn't joking. "Everyone, I have something I need to say," she slurred, her voice thick with alcohol. "I've been lying to all of you, especially to Nick." My heart skipped a beat. I looked over at Nick, but his face was already pale. He didn't know what was coming. I've been in love with Jack for years, not Nick." The silence in the room was deafening. I couldn't even process the words. I swear my mind just shut down for a moment. People around me started whispering. I saw Nick go rigid, his face a mix of confusion and hurt. My stomach churned and I could feel the heat rising in my chest. This was it, the moment that everything shattered. Kate wasn't finished, though. She went on and on about how she sacrificed everything for me, how she had stayed with Nick just to be close to me. She told me she'd always felt something for me, but I was too blind to see it. She even said that the only reason she had acted so protective over me was because she wanted to be more than just Nick's girlfriend. She wanted to be my girl. I looked at Nick, my brother, the guy I'd been closest to my whole life, and I saw something in his eyes that I'll never forget. It wasn't just disbelief, it was betrayal. He didn't know what to say. I wanted to reach out to him, but I couldn't. Not at that moment. Kate had just dropped a bombshell that no one could recover from. "Jack," Kate sobbed, "please, leave Daisy, come be with me, we'll be happy together." It felt like the ground was slipping out from under me. The room felt like it was spinning. My legs were shaking. This couldn't be real, right? It was like something out of a soap opera, but here I was, sitting at a family engagement party, with my brother's fiancée begging me to abandon the woman I loved. Daisy stood next to me, her face ashen. She didn't know what to do either. Kate had made her feel like a complete outsider every chance she got, and now, in front of everyone, she was trying to tear apart the life I'd been building with Daisy. I didn't know what to say. So I didn't say anything. Instead, I just stood there frozen as Kate's sister finally pulled her away from the microphone. But the damage had already been done. Kate was yelling, sobbing, and screaming as she was dragged out of the room. The family was still in shock, not knowing how to react. I glanced at Nick. He looked pale and disoriented. His hands were shaking. He didn't even look at me. He just stood there staring at the spot where Kate had been. "Jack," Nick's voice cracked. You knew all this time." I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to explain any of it. The truth was I hadn't known. I'd never been attracted to Kate, not once. But I couldn't blame Nick for feeling hurt. I had been in the same room with her, been part of their relationship, and never did a thing to stop her behavior. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. And now my brother was looking at me like I was the one who had betrayed him. The aftermath of that night was a mess. The next few days were hell. I tried to reach out to Nick, but he wouldn't answer my calls. I couldn't blame him. I had no idea what to say to him either. He was hurting, and I knew it was my fault, at least in his mind. Kate's drunken confession had fractured our family in a way that I didn't know how to fix. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I kept replaying that moment in my head. What if I had confronted Kate earlier? What if I had put my foot down and told her to back off? What if I had never allowed myself to be in that position? Would things be different now? Daisy, bless her heart, stood by me through it all. She never once blamed me for what happened. But I could see the pain in her eyes, too. She was caught in the middle of something she didn't ask for. It wasn't her fault, but she was now a part of this mess. Every time I looked at Daisy, I felt a deep sense of guilt. She was the one who had to deal with Kate's jealousy and her constant attempts to undermine her. Daisy never showed it, but I knew how hard it was for her to watch my brother's fiancée try to tear us apart. But Daisy was strong. She never faltered. She just kept reassuring me that we would get through it, that we were on the same team. But despite everything Daisy said, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was all my fault. I had allowed Kate to manipulate my life, and now my brother was paying the price. I couldn't fix what had been broken, and it killed me. Things reached their breaking point a week later when Nick called me out of the blue. It was the first time I'd heard from him since the engagement party. I was relieved at first, thinking maybe he was finally ready to talk things through. But when I answered, the words that came out of his mouth were a punch to the gut. "Jack," he said, his voice cold. "I want $50,000. I froze. I thought I hadn't heard him right. What are you talking about?" He didn't hesitate. "You owe me, Jack. You ruined my life. Kate and I were supposed to get married. We were supposed to have a future, but you ruined everything. I want compensation. $50,000. That's the amount of money I spent on Kate over the years. You took everything from me, and I'm asking for what I'm owed." The words were like a slap across the face. I couldn't believe it. Nick was blaming me for Kate's emotional breakdown, her obsessive behavior, and the ultimate collapse of their relationship. In his mind, I was the reason everything had gone wrong, and now I had to pay him back for his suffering. I tried to reason with him, but he wouldn't listen. He demanded that I give him the money or else our relationship would be over. He even threatened to cut me off completely. That was the moment it hit me. Nick was no longer my brother. He had become a stranger, consumed by anger and manipulated by Kate's lies. And no Nick what I said or did, he wasn't going to see the truth. I hung up the phone feeling numb. This was it. My brother had gone off the deep end, and I had no idea how to pull him back. The following weeks were a blur. I was stuck in a constant cycle of guilt, anger, and confusion. I could barely focus at work, and every time I saw Daisy, I felt a pang of shame for dragging her into this mess. The calls from Nick stopped, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the tension between us was hanging in the air, suffocating everything around me. I tried reaching out, but his responses were brief and dismissive, and every attempt to bridge the gap seemed to make things worse. I wasn't sure what else I could do. My parents, who had been quietly observing everything from the sidelines, were getting frustrated too. They saw Nick's irrational behavior, but they also understood how deeply hurt he was. They tried to talk to him, to explain that this wasn't my fault, but it felt like talking to a brick wall. He had made up his mind, and no amount of reasoning was going to change that. It wasn't until one night my mom called and told me Nick had agreed to meet with me. My first instinct was to feel relief, but I quickly realized that I had no idea what to expect. Would he come at me with more accusations? Was I prepared for the emotional barrage that was sure to follow? Despite everything, I still cared deeply for my brother, and the idea that he was willing to meet was a small flicker of hope in a dark situation. When I arrived at my parents' house, I was nervous. My hands were shaking and my heart was pounding. I didn't know how to fix things. I didn't even know if it could be fixed, but I was determined to try. I owed him that much. The door opened and there was Nick, sitting at the dining room table, his eyes red, his face still tight with anger. "Jack," he said, barely looking at me. There was an awkward pause. I had no idea where to start. "I don't know what I'm supposed to say to you. I've been holding on to this anger for so long, I just don't know how to let go of it." "I don't want you to hold on to it," I said quietly, taking a seat across from him. "I'm sorry, Nick. I never meant for any of this to happen." Nick's eyes were cold, but for the first time in what felt like forever, he looked at me. "You don't get it. You don't understand what it was like for me. Kate was everything. She was supposed to be my future, my wife. And then in front of everyone, she ruined me. She admitted it to everyone, Jack. She loved you, not me." I felt my chest tight. I know, and I never wanted that. I never wanted to hurt you, Nick, but it wasn't me. I didn't do this. She manipulated everything. Nick flinched at the word manipulated. He looked away for a second, then leaned back in his chair. That's the thing, though, Jack. I didn't see it. I couldn't see it. All I saw was you, my own brother, flirting with her, leading her on. You never stopped it. I didn't flirt with her, Nick. My voice was louder than I meant it to be, but I couldn't hold it in. I didn't do any of that. She was the one crossing the line. She was the one who lied, who caused all this. I never wanted any of it. I respected her because she was important to you. That's it. Nick's face softened, but only for a second. He ran a hand through his hair, clearly frustrated. I don't know what to think anymore. I thought if I pushed you out, if I cut you off, I could protect myself. But I can't do that anymore. I can't live with this bitterness. There was a long pause, and for the first time in a while, I felt a small spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could fix this. But before I could say anything else, Nick added something that stopped me cold. But the money, $50,000, I need it, Jack. I can't move on without it. This is the price I'm asking for the emotional damage. The years of my life I wasted with Kate. It's the only way I can start to feel like I've gotten something back. Otherwise, I won't be able to let this go. I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to scream at him, to tell him how absurd that was, but I kept my cool. Nick, that's not how this works. You can't put a price on pain, and I'm not going to pay you for something I didn't do. This isn't my fault. I didn't cause Kate's feelings. I didn't force her to act the way she did. I know, he whispered, but you were the one who stood there. You were the one she confessed to. You let it happen. I didn't let anything happen, I said, feeling my frustration building. I tried, Nick. I tried to put distance between us. I tried to protect you, but she made her choices. This isn't about me. This is about her, and it always has been. There was silence. I could feel the tension hanging in the air. Nick wasn't angry anymore, but he was still hurt. And I could tell that the anger was shifting into something else, a sense of betrayal that had been building for years, one he couldn't shake off so easily. The conversation didn't resolve everything, but it was a step. It was a hard step, but it was something. We spent hours talking, and though Nick didn't immediately take back his demand for money, I could see a shift in his perspective. He finally started to acknowledge that Kate had been the one causing the damage all along. It wasn't me. It never was. But even with that small breakthrough, the damage was done. Our relationship wasn't the same anymore. I could see it in the way Nick looked at me. He didn't trust me fully anymore, not after everything that had happened. He wasn't ready to let go of the hurt. And honestly, neither was I. I had tried to be the good brother, to do the right thing, but now it felt like nothing I did mattered. As for the $50,000, that demand still lingered in the back of my mind. It was ridiculous. I wasn't going to pay for it. It wasn't my responsibility. But I understood where it came from. Nick wasn't just asking for money. He was asking for closure, for something to fill the emptiness that Kate had left behind. But closure didn't come in the form of a check. It came in facing the truth, no matter how ugly or painful that truth was. And it was time for us to both face that truth. It's been months since that conversation, and while Nick and I are still not where we once were, there's been progress. He's still distant. He's still angry at times, but he's not the same person he was when he first reached out to me. And neither am I. We're both broken, but maybe that's okay. Some relationships can't be fixed right away. Sometimes they need space to breathe. Daisy and I are stronger than ever. I know I've got her by my side, and that's what matters most. She's pregnant now, which is still surreal. We're about to bring a little life into this world, and for the first time in a long time, I feel a sense of peace. As for Nick, I'm still trying to make sense of everything. I don't know if we'll ever be the same, but I've accepted that. You can't force someone to heal, and you can't make someone understand what they're not ready to see. If Nick decides to reach out again, I'll be here. I won't hold grudges, but I'm not going to chase him anymore. I've learned that sometimes you just have to let go and move forward. I can't change the past, but I can control my future, and for the first time in a long time, that feels like enough. Through everything that happened, I've learned one hard truth. Sometimes, you can't control how people feel or what they do. I did everything I could to protect my brother, to keep the peace, and to respect boundaries. But in the end, I couldn't fix what was broken. I couldn't change the choices Kate made or the pain Nick felt. What I've come to realize is that you can't take responsibility for someone else's mistakes, even if they try to put it on you. You can only control how you react, how you set boundaries, and how you choose to move forward. It's not about pleasing everyone or trying to fix something that's out of your hand. It's about respecting yourself enough to stand up for your own peace.